The big personal level note to me, though, that I really took home, that wasn't in until the end of it, which, just like this video, that's why I want to bring this up, is... So March's Inside Infinite just dropped yesterday. Yes, I didn't have a video, but I'm here now. I'm here now to let you listen. And to sum up a lot of cool points that were brought up in this blog about the audio design of Halo Infinite, to which a lot of you might not care about audio, but it's a neat thing, and you're gonna actually get some neat details if you read through this, or if you don't want to read through it, fine, just tune into this video. But there was a certain roar that we heard that I seriously want to know what the hell is that. Might have confirmed flood, we heard the inside of a foreigner ruin, and there's just a lot to go over. So let's hit it. The way it kicks off, though, is a really interesting note, because they start off with saying, we wanted to start off with the ambitious goal for this game of making 3 to 4 hours of music. Literally during my live stream, I stopped and I was like, wait a second. If you look up how long the rest of the Halo games soundtracks are, they're not even half that. Most of the time, the longest ones I think are Halo 2 and 5 at like 2 hours and 15 minutes, something like that. But the majority of Halo games, they're under 2 hours. And here's Halo Infinite going, we want to make 3 to 4 hours of music, which makes sense because it's a very ambitious game. It's the most ambitious one. It's the closest thing to open world. There's a lot of scenarios you'll find yourself in. Speaking of which, that's just for the campaign. What? Yeah, Joel emphasizes in that moment and very much throughout this whole thing, that's for the campaign that I'm talking about. Multiplayer stuff, we'll talk about that later. Why would he feel the need to hide something about the multiplayer music, you know? Like, how many tracks have been specific to multiplayer? I would say Halo 5 maybe went the farthest because it had Warzone, right? But if he feels like there's things to hide about the multiplayer music that is worth hiding, then again, Halo 5, that was the most music they have had, and that was for Warzone, so maybe he is teasing at this idea that there's like a Battlefield 1 operations, where it's like a continuous big campaign. Imagine like Invasion from Halo Reach, and it's a big game type where, you know, you're progressively working your way through a map, or there's been a lot of these rumors about like Big Team Battle 2.0, where, you know, it's like more than twice the size of teams, like maybe 20v20. I could be wrong. There's, you know, the menu music for multiplayer, and maybe there's some stingers for, if you don't know what a stinger is, it's a transition sound effect. I don't know, man. It just makes me really speculate, like, why would you need to hide something about the multiplayer? But then we move on to something that like comes up at the beginning and the end of this with Joe Staten's story, but the threat detection system. Probably the most innovative form of technology, because later on also in this, they state Halo Infinite is the first Halo game of any Halo to utilize virtual sound audio, where they could have like simulated surround sound in other games. But this one is actually being built, and it's using technology to support surround sound like Dolby Atmos, Windows Sonic, and DTS headphone. But this game, not only is it going to have that kind of technology, but it also is going to have this threat detection system. Instead of having all these complicated sound effects happening at once and kind of, you know, draining each other out because you can't really hear what's going on, this Halo, you are going to prioritize. It's going to prioritize the threat level. If there is a sniper that shoots at you, yes, you're going to hear all these other guns shooting, including your allies and enemies, but the sniper that is shooting directly at you will kind of like pop a bit more. It's going to be a bit more noticeable than anything else because that's the most threatening. If there is like a rocket being aimed at you and it's nearby and it shoots, and meanwhile there's other rockets too, but they're shooting elsewhere, they're not shooting at you, the one that's shooting at you, you are going to hear that, and it's going to impact with virtual surround, you know, technology. That gets my gets my willy Billy? What? And speaking of immersion, the audio designer, he talks about how he really wanted to change the way sounds work in Halo, because they always had this thing where the peak of bullets, there's something in audio design called a peak. That's the highest point of a sound effect. And in Halo 5, for instance, it kind of stayed up there for a while instead of trailing down sooner. But in Halo Infinite, it's going to go down sooner. So I had somebody show up in my Twitch stream that thought that the battle rifle, because you get to hear the battle rifle, he thought it sounded slower than the usual. But the thing is that it actually doesn't. If you line it up, they are lasting the same amount of time. It's just that the Halo Infinite one sounds slower because you can actually hear the bullets better. They're not as blended in. And that's the theme of this threat detection system, the surround sound. There's another portion that they talk about the kind of spatial awareness and muffling things. They are doing their best to really make Halo Infinite sounds not more, you know, complicated and complex. They're trying to make all the sounds stand out a lot more to make it feel a lot more focused. Another beautiful sound effect, and to me, the most like beautiful we got our first look at a power weapon for the Banished. It looks cool. At first I thought it was like a one-handed weapon, then I realized, oh no, it's actually a bigger, like, this is like a bigger bazooka style weapon, and it seems like a kind of a harpoon gun. That's what I interpreted. I was like, okay, it's got a bayonet and potentially a big kind of spike to shoot out of it. When you hear the sound effect, dude, you can hear it leave the tube, and it just sounds like you do not want to get hit by this thing at all. I just love the, like, it just sounds like it's shooting something that is going to pierce you, like, not just like stick into you, but go through you. There's two more big notes I want to hit, but there's a lot of little nuggets I just want to hit really quick, like the grapple shot hijacking, you know, vehicles that we've had confirmed. There's potentially going to be a new medal for that, because that's quite the achievement, and the announcer's going to announce it. And there's going to be stingers again. Again, stingers is like a transitional 5 or 10 second sound. You know, like when Mario beats a level, you're going to hear stuff like that in the campaign when you do certain things like destroy something or arrive somewhere. Like, they're really going to try to use stingers to kind of reward you audibly in the moment. But the kind of bigger notes I want to hit here is we get to hear the inside of a Foreigner structure, and it is so good. It's ambiance. When you listen to these, please have nothing else going on. Don't talk over it. Just like close your eyes and imagine you are there. They dropped this one about the audio of just being inside a Foreigner place. You know, you're not walking or doing anything. It's just simply standing inside one. And dude, when you close your eyes, it does. It feels like you're in some kind of ancient ruin that nobody has been in for a long time, but there's still some kind of bits and pieces of life that are just going around, like sentinels repairing things or who knows what. This is exactly what the Foreigners are to me, where they're ruins. It's exactly like what we perceive pyramids to be, you know, when we find these ancient ruins full of concrete and stuff. But in Halo, ruins are super duper technology. It's like the exact opposite of what our reality is. And that's what this sounds like. Just leftovers from this ancient race that is being repaired. But boy, if you want to have some eargasmic stuff, if you are super into sound design and want to kind of piece together potential things that we haven't been shown yet, they have a montage. They have like a 3-minute montage of various sound effects in Halo Infinite. And admittedly, I'm a little bit disappointed that most of them sounded like they were alien stuff. They sounded like they were banished weapons or, you know, beams or Foreigner technology. I didn't hear that much UNSC stuff, but then again, that's because, as they say in the blog, most of the UNSC stuff is going to resemble pretty real life stuff. So it makes sense they wanted to want to highlight that, but there's a lot of cool shit. And the one that people are really talking about though, is there is a straight up roar. Everybody in my chat anyways, they were like, Void, that's Void, that's Void. And I'm just like, hold up. I don't want to get my hopes up, man. I don't want to get them up and then get disappointed. It could be Promethean roars. That's exactly what like Prometheans have had a history of having roars, especially in Halo 4. It could be. But let's hope it's Flood. There's just so much good stuff in that, man. That's an entire video itself. You can hear kind of like wires breaking, and who knows, maybe there'll be like suspension spots that you're going to be in, or that's just environmental, you know, you're walking around. on maybe you are walking around some kind of suspended spot. There's so much good stuff in that, man. And I think you can hear a glimpse of how a lot of weapons we haven't seen are gonna be. I'm pretty sure I heard like a Wraith and a Scorpion, how they're gonna sound when they shoot in that. The big personal level note to me though that I really took home, that wasn't in until the end of it, which just like this video, that's why I want to bring this up. NPCs. We get a story from Joe Staten, and this one he talks about how he freed some Marines and they go into a forest and music cues and whatnot. A lot of cool stuff he explains, especially about the spatial awareness of like how the audio is designed. But the thing that I personally took home the most, NPC lines. The grunts are stating things, and there was like a Marine that heard a jackal speak, to which, have jackals ever talked before? But a Marine's like, I'm gonna tie your beak shut or whatever. And grunts were like, those humans are gonna die. Like he says all these things that the NPCs are saying. That is something I've always loved about the Bungie games specifically. I cared about the characters around me because they actually had cool things to say that made them feel like they are genuinely alive in this world. And especially in Halo 1, I never wanted my Marines to die because they would say the coolest, like, I was amazed that they actually had so many lines recorded for these NPCs. So when Joe says literally thousands, this was just a small portion of the thousands of lines that we had recorded to make these NPCs feel character rich. That was the thing, like, internally, I just was so excited about. The big speculation note I want to figure out, as well as with you, like in the comments, please let's discuss this, is what do you think they are hiding in terms of that multiplayer music? I thought it was really interesting how Joel brought that up, and he's like, yeah, 3 or 4 hours for the campaign. We'll talk about what we're doing with multiplayer later. I'm like, what? Is it more than just a couple tracks? Why would you need more than a couple tracks? So let me know what you think of that. And if you want to join our Halo Discord, we have that. If you're like the lowest tier patron, it's the most accessible reward on Patreon. So if you want to support the channel and join our Halo Discord and our occasional game nights we have, you can go there. And thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to be geek, proud, awesome, and let's talk Halo in the comments.